I'm no stranger to this place where real life and dreams collide. The next song is Keep the Dream Alive. Keep the Dream Alive could be described as sort of the halfway point between the Stone Roses and early era Coldplay. And I think that's sort of pretty reflective of where Oasis were at this point in their career. It's a song written by Andy Bell, so this is the first time on the list we've had a song that's not written by Lowell, that's not written by Noel. So this one's written by Andy Bell. It's his second contribution to this album. The first one being the opening track, "Turn Up the Sun," which is a good track. It's actually a nice opener to the album. With sort of jangly guitars to open us up, and I think it's a stronger opener than, for example, Mucky Fingers would have been. But this is going to the second half of the album, closing out, not quite closing out the album, but getting close. And this is "Keep the Dream Alive." Lyrically, it's a bit more of a sort of puzzle. It's quite hard to sort of parse if there's any specific information he's given in regards to the subject matter of the song. Is it just his, is it just a stream of consciousness, sort of, I'll keep the dream alive? Because I can't actually tell, like the lyrics aren't very clear as to whether he's talking about actual dreams that he's having in his sleep, like actually talking about the ethereal, slumber-induced dreams, or is he chatting about, the dream of becoming a rock star and making it in life and being fulfilled. Like even the chorus is a bit of a sort of enigma in that regard. Yeah, so it's hard to know if he's grasping at the idea of maintaining a focus on a specific targeted goal, or if he's just saying, I don't want to live in reality, I would rather live in my head and just be part of the dream world, which there's certainly things to be said about living in escapism. Musically, instrumentally, it's a very straightforward instrumental, so it's guitar, drum and bass, and I think I hear a bit of a tambourine, shaker tambourine, but they do actually get quite a lot of texture, and they really build up the bricks of the song with a lot of intricacies and just finding little repeated motifs throughout that sort of again, this is bringing in Jem and Andy Bell's musicianship, that they can bring a bit more of this rather than being just the strumming the chords and just plucking the bass note. They can actually bring a bit more inventiveness to the instrumentation, because they are very accomplished musicians, as I mentioned before. So this is the last song. We will have Liam on vocals, so we're 2 songs left after this, and Liam will not be featuring on them. It's not Liam's greatest, it's not a good Liam vocal performance. He's not quite as whiny as he has been, but it's still there in some of his deliveries, and it almost knocks the song off. It almost takes the song off its sort of pedestal, because he hints at this sort of and it's like, Liam, just fucking sing the song. You're one of the greatest vocalists in rock history. Just fucking sing the song. Stop trying to. I don't know if he was getting. See, it is actually a vocal, for people who are learning vocals. Doing that does actually help open your vocal folds, which are sort of back down here, and it should give you, in theory, it should give you more control of your breath, so you can project further and you can hold notes longer, and it sort of keeps those muscles, tight and flexible and lithe and all those things. If you do that, it should help. I don't think you're supposed to bring it into your performance, though, Liam. I think somebody needed to sort of give him a slap around the face and say to him, look, just do those things in your warm-up, just bring your old bring your old vocal attitude back to the forefront, please. Going by the rankings, it's quite low. I don't think it's quite as bad as some of those numbers suggest, but it's, see, again, always like in the popular consciousness of media newsrooms, Oasis were already over the hill by this point. To give you an idea, so I was looking through some reviews of the album, and some of them were literally just like half a paragraph stuck at the end of a White Stripes album review, who has also had albums coming out around this sort of time, and they were sort of White Stripes, Strokes, Arctic Monkeys. Well, Arctic Monkeys hadn't really broke through just yet, but White Stripes, the Strokes were the big bands at the time. There was brilliant music happening in North America that was absolutely getting zero coverage over here. Brilliant guitar music, like the likes of the Shins, Arcade Fire were starting to break out. Modest Mouse were well established by this point. The likes of Kids the Elephant were already starting to come through around now, I think. And yet we were getting none of this, and we were getting, okay, there was bands like Franz Ferdinand and the likes of that around this era, but it felt like there was just a whole subgenre of music with the likes of the Shins and Apples and Stereos and Of Montreal, all these brilliant guitar-based bands that were just completely ignored in this side of the Atlantic. Whereas the other extreme was Killers, who couldn't get a look in the United States, sent over their demos. Well, I assume they sent over their demos over to London, and they were picked up and they were made A-listers within 6 months, and arguably Hot Fuss was the album of the decade. In terms of rock albums hitting the mainstream, it's hard to argue that Hot Fuss and maybe 3 or 4 others had sort of broken through in the way that bands were doing in the 90s. But I saw a clip from Smashing Pumpkins lead singer Billy Corgan there, where he says, and I've written about this before, the radio industrial complex, but he's actually come out and said that there was an active effort to remove rock music from the mainstream. He said it was like being replaced in the United States by hip hop, which was huge. Like I don't think he was saying it as a sort of snipe against hip hop, but he was acknowledging that it had occurred. And it really did feel for at least 15-20 years that, well, basically whatever the Radio 1 puts on their A-list or whatever their sort of main one is, the commercials stations would just follow suit, because there's only like 2 or 3 commercial entities now, compared to when there would have been lots of independent commercial radio stations all over Britain. They were all consolidated into Bauer Media or Media, into Bauer Media or Capital, or one of those brands, and then they were all just told to play the same music that whatever the Sheraton House in London told them to play. And if the Sheraton House in London didn't happen to like rock music, there was not going to be rock music in the mainstream. So it felt like for a good 15 odd years there was one band was given all the attention. So whether it be Foo Fighters or Queens of Stone Age or Arctic Monkeys or Killers, there was one band per year got all the attention, and then the rest of them had to sort of fight for scraps and festival spots. And when the likes of Simon Cowell could literally just, he could bet his mortgage on getting Christmas #1 because he had all the free publicity from all those song competitions that were so manipulative, that were so toxic, that were so that reveled in a casual cruelty that society hasn't really shed itself of, and in fact I would say has really taken on board and really stuck with, and people have made it their entire personalities now, is how casually cruel they could be, and they can launch fucking prime ministerial campaigns based on this. And would it not be nicer just to play some songs about with guitars in them? We are getting very close now to the end of the list. We are veering off the albums for the next song. So stick around, number 49 is coming up next.